Nikola Corporation is one of the more interesting EV companies in the world today. The company's stock price has been significantly beaten down, and there's a lot of investors suggesting that you should buy the stock or you shouldn't buy the stock. What I'm going to do in this video is just give you information from the company's financial statement, just so that you can make a more informed decision, so that you're not having to rely on this or the other person hyping up this investment, so that you can look at the information and make a decision yourself. So with that being said, let's jump in. Let's take a look at this company's financial statement.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
All right, so let's start with the overview. And Nikola saying that we are pioneering a business model that will enable customers to integrate next generation truck technology, hydrogen fueling infrastructure, charging solutions, and related maintenance. They operate in two business units, truck and energy. The truck business unit is developing and commercializing FCEV and BEV Class 8 trucks, so battery electric and fuel cell electric vehicles. And then the energy business is developing hydrogen fueling infrastructure to support the FCEV customers. Of course, if you don't have the fueling, then these trucks become obsolete. The drivers will not want to buy the trucks unless there is sufficient refueling so that they can operate the trucks. They don't want these trucks to be sitting around charging all the time, because that means they're not out earning. These drivers need to be out delivering loads and earning money. Otherwise, it's not a reason for them to purchase these trucks. And we're going to see a little bit later in the video, that's been a headwind for some time now for Nikola. So in January of 2023, they announced their new global brand, HYLA, to encompass their energy products for producing, distributing, dispensing hydrogen fuel to their trucks. And if this all works, it could be really powerful to not only sell the trucks and make money from selling the trucks, but then also make money from the maintenance and servicing those trucks, and also make money from the fuel to recharge those trucks. Remember, truck drivers are out there typically 8, 9, 10 hours a day, using up a lot of energy, using up a lot of fuel, using up a lot of resources. And if you're making money recharging that, refueling those trucks, it could be lucrative. It could be lucrative if Nikola can get this right, which so far it's had a lot of difficulty in getting this right. So Nikola sells their trucks to dealers in their network and rely on the dealers to sell them to end users. And here's the first sign of trouble, that they have experienced delays in receiving additional purchase orders from their dealers, due in part to lack of charging infrastructure. Like I mentioned earlier, truck drivers are not going to want to own these trucks if there isn't enough infrastructure to charge. There needs to be infrastructure in various locations. They need to be fast. They need to be affordable. Otherwise, truck drivers are not going to make the switch. Now, governments can try and force truck drivers to make the switch, but they'll delay as long as possible unless it's economical to do so. Right now, California has the strictest regulations for truck drivers. All new trucks need to be zero emissions. And so truck drivers are trying to extend the life of the older trucks, while at the same time going to politicians and lobbying them to change the rules to provide more friendly regulation, or to help companies like Nikola to build out the infrastructure faster, right? You do one or the other. Don't force us to get these zero emissions trucks without having the infrastructure available. So instead of forcing us, why don't you go to the infrastructure providers, give them the incentives to build the infrastructure, to build the charging solution, so that we can go out and buy the trucks. So there's a bit of a mismatch here, a chicken and the egg problem. Which one needs to come first before the other one can follow? So during the third quarter of 2023, production and sales of the Tre BEV was impacted significantly by the voluntary recall of the BEV trucks, another sign of difficulty for Nikola. They had to recall many of the BEV trucks, and that's going to cost them over $60 million, which we're going to see in a little bit. So in August of 2023, they placed a temporary hold on all new BEV truck shipments. As of September of 2023, the accrued recall campaign cost so far $61.8 million for the BEV trucks that are expected to be returned to dealers and customers once the recall is complete. Now remember, this is just so far. These costs could continue to go higher while these trucks remain with Nikola. We might see that these first set of trucks are expected to be returned to customers starting in the first quarter of 2024. So we're going to hear about this relatively soon. Is Nikola actually going to meet this target and return these trucks to customers in the first quarter of 2024? Or are we going to hear more about difficulties and delays and extensions of this plan? So that's going to be key for Nikola here in the near term, because you can already see these costs are adding up for a company that's struggling for liquidity to begin with and dealing with these extra costs on top of the already high costs that they're dealing with, the losses on the bottom line, in order to build this business out. This was something that Nikola could have done without. So here's a nice breakdown of their Tre BEVs by quarter, how many they produced and how many they shipped. And you can see where the trouble really started, where in the second quarter of 2022, they produced 50 and they shipped 48. That's great. That means that customers are buying almost everything that you're making. And that started to show signs of difficulty in the third quarter of 2022 when they produced 75 and shipped only 63. Now there's a wider gap there between the two. And then in the fourth quarter of 2022, you really started to see a noticeable decrease in demand for these trucks. They produced 133 and they shipped only 20. A huge gap between these two and the decline from the previous quarter. Now things improved slightly in the first quarter of 2023. Nikola smartly reduced production from 133 down to 63, but still they only delivered 31. That still doesn't even cover half of what they had produced in the previous quarter, and they had extra over here. And Nikola again smartly reduced production again from 63 down to 33, the lowest they've ever done since beginning production. And finally, their delivery, the number they shipped, increased meaningfully above what they produced. So they started to work down some of this inventory that they had built up. Because if you count it, that's 2 plus 12, that's 14, plus 113, that's 127, plus 32, that's 159 units of inventory. And these are expensive trucks. These trucks are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so if you have that much inventory, that's really a drain on cash. And that's really difficult for a company the size of Nikola to deal with. And so it's good news that in the second quarter of 2023, that they shipped more than they produced. And then the third quarter, they had the issues with the recall. And so they only shipped 3 and they stopped all shipments altogether. So more difficulty ahead for Nikola. Nikola is saying that they require substantial additional capital to produce and validate their products and services and fund operations for the foreseeable future. So they're going to need more money from investors. As long as the eye can see, they're going to need more and more money from investors. They're not going to be self-sustaining for a while, foreseeable future, meaning that Nikola can't even say like that by the end of 2025 or by the end of 2026. They're just saying for as long as we can see, we're going to need investors to give us money so that we can continue to fund the business. Otherwise, the business is just going to keep losing money and run out of money. We need investors to give us more money to fund this business. Now, a big factor will be when they solve the recall issue, when they can start returning those BEVs. And once they do that, they can then again start shipping those units of BEVs that they still have in inventory, because remember I just highlighted how much they have in inventory. If they fix the recall, they start sending those out. Remember, when they send out one of those trucks, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash coming in. So if they can start sending those trucks out and start receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars for each one, that will help fund their operations and limit how much they need to go to investors and ask for more money. Okay, so I hope this video was informative. I hope this highlighted some of what's going on with Nikola and why the stock price is down so much over the last few years. If you liked the video you just saw and you want to see more just like it, please subscribe to the channel. I can't keep this channel free without the support of viewers like you. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, and I appreciate your support.